I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a man. Do you understand? Half of my life is unplanned. Most of the time, I don't know
Hello,
what's
and
next.
welcome to this episode of Husband, Father, Man. I am your host, Carrie Braggs, and I am glad to be in the house with you. I'm glad you could make it out today. And so today, we are going to discuss 3 ways that you can become consistent. 3 ways that you can become consistent because consistency is very important when you look at anyone who is doing things on a high level. They are consistent, and that's what we know and love about them. We expect them to come through in the clutch because they know the things that need to be done when they are in these situations, and they just consistently do it over and over and over. And so we kind of tend to look up to them sometimes. And then when we look at ourselves, it's just like, oh, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do it and everything. And so I feel a lot of times there are just simple things at play, that we're just trying to do too much, or we're really not putting forth any effort to begin with, and we don't want to put in the work to be consistent on a high level. And so I put together 3 things that I use to help me to get where I'm going. And so number one, the first one is you've got to change your perspective. That's right. You got to change your perspective. And what I mean by that is this. When I talk to people a lot of times about different things, a lot of the times I hear people saying, they'll say to me, I'm not perfect and all of these different things. And honestly, the goal in mind should not be whether or not we're perfect. The goal in mind should be whether or not we are getting the job done. And so if you change your mindset from I'm not perfect, because when you think about being perfect, anything less is discouraging, is depressing, or is a letdown. But if you are focused on being consistent, then that's a different thing. Because when you're focused on being consistent, then if you're trying to be consistent, then the mindset is building up to being able to do this over and over correctly and do it more rather than being in a situation to where you stop and start and you try and fail and all of these things, but you just kind of keep at it to where you say, hey, it may be something you're trying to do 5 days a week. And so you can sit up and you just like, hey, you may start off hitting 1 day a week. And so it's like if you're looking at it saying I'm not perfect, then that'll be very discouraging. You're like 1 out of 5, that's terrible. But if you're trying to be consistent, you may hit that 1 day a week for 4 weeks. And instead of sitting up saying I failed for 4 weeks, you can sit up and say, you know what? I've been consistent at doing it at least 1 day out of 5 for 4 weeks. So now I want to try to push that to the next level and make it, 2 days a week instead of just that 1 day. Remember, I know the goal is 5 days a week, but even though you're not reaching the 5 days a week, you were consistent in doing it 1 day a week for 4 weeks, and now you can push yourself to the next level. So sometimes we have to be creative with how we look at things to help us get to the next level. And so number 2 is set a routine. You set a routine, you kind of determine what it is you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and how you're going to get it done. So for me, one of the key things with walking, that's something I always talk about now, that's been a part of my regimen for a while now. and I'm very dedicated to that. And so within that, my routine is normally I'm looking to walk a half hour a day, and I'm looking to do it in the morning and just start my day and go from there. So my routine was, it was set up. What am I going to do? I'm going to walk. Where am I going to walk? I usually walk around the neighborhood, and I set a time. Hey, this is going to be 30 minutes. And so with a routine in place, all I have to do is do it. I don't have to get up every day wondering what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, when I'm going to do it, how long I'm going to do it. I don't have to do any of those things because I have a routine in place. And all I have to do is focus on the routine that I've put in place. And then I'll be able to be successful because I know what it is that I'm going to do to get me from point A to point B. And then number 3 is follow through. You have to follow through and do what it is that you said you were going to do. So many times we can talk about what we want to do, talk about eating healthy and getting in shape and working on a side business and all of these different things. We can talk about these things all the time, and we can set things up. We can have the right mindset on what we're going to do and the routine. But if we don't execute and follow through and do what we said we were going to do, it just doesn't matter. It all falls short. You know, you have to have things in place, just like taking different steps. You know, step after step, you move forward. We all know this. And so we have to make sure that we follow through on what it is that we are going to do. So when I set my routine for walking, I had to follow through and make sure that I get up the next morning and walk, or make sure I walk sometime during that day. I have to follow through, and I have to have that mindset that, hey, somewhere in here during my day, I'm going to get my 30-minute walk in. So it's always in the forefront, or it's in the back of my mind if I have different things going on and I have to switch it up and I'm not able to do it in the morning, then it's still on my mind to make sure that I take care of it sometime during the day, because I need to follow through on what I put in place if I'm going to be consistent. And so when you look at it, it's really not that complicated. A lot of times we overcomplicate these things instead of just simplifying. You know, I always tell my kids when I'm talking about things to them, I'm the kind of guy that I look at complicated situations, and my goal and my problem solving thinking is, how do I simplify this? How do I simplify this and make it to where it's more understandable, to where it's more manageable? And so we have to stop complicating things. Sometimes we put the cart before the horse. Sometimes we try to do it too big, and instead of just taking it small steps at a time and build up and things like that. Because we really have to ask ourselves, are we going the best route to get where we are going? Are we really putting into the mix? Are we putting our efforts and thoughts and times toward the correct things? So I feel that we need to take that time to really look at it, at, you know, what it is we're trying to accomplish and the quickest and best way to get there. And so those are my 3 tips on how to how 3 ways to become consistent, get away from the perfection mentality, and just say, hey, I'm going to start, and I'm just going to get in there and shake it up, because no one is perfect, and I don't focus on being perfect. Me, myself, I focus on, you never hear me saying I'm not perfect. I hear people say that all the time, but that's not something I say. I don't say I'm not perfect. I'll sit up and I'll look at it and be like, hey, I'm trying to be consistent. I'm trying to be consistent at what I do so I can know that this is something that I'm going to take care of. And so that leads to number 2. I set my routine and I have my routine. I know what it is I'm going to do. And then I go to step 3. I follow through. So, another tip that I'll add on the end of this, when you do the first 3, then number 4 is what you need to do is kind of look at your progress. So when you're looking to be consistent, you can monitor your progress. And so I would suggest every week, like if you say you're looking to put 10 hours a week toward a side business, let's just say that. I've heard different people who have started side businesses and different things. They usually say set aside 10 or 15 hours a week to be able to work on that side business. And so if you set aside 10 hours a week and then you go back at the end of the week and you look and say, okay, how much time did I dedicate towards working on my side business this week? And you'll be able to see, okay, well, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I put forth 2 hours each day. And then I didn't touch it the rest of the week. So you'll see that, hey, you only did a little more than half. And so that next week you can say, okay, hey, I need to make sure I hit my mark. And so you may look at your stats every week for 4 weeks. First week, you may get 6 hours. Second week, you may get 9 hours. Third week, you may get 8 hours. Fourth week, you may get all 10 hours in, but you're able to see that over the course of 4 weeks, you were almost perfect on most of the days. And even at your lowest, you were more than 50%. And so to me, those are good measurements of whether or not you're being consistent with whatever you are trying to accomplish. And so just simplify the things. You just determine you're focused on being consistent, not perfect. You put a routine in place, what you're going to do, and then you do it. And then you do weekly check-ins to make sure that you are, where you are on your goals. And so if you need to step your game up, you can make the adjustments. If you are hitting the mark, you can just make sure that you stay there, or you may decide that you want to go to the next level with it. But being focused on these different things and measuring whether or not you're being consistent with what you set in place is simple, and it'll be encouraging because you'll just start seeing yourself get better and better along the way if you just continue to stick to the script, so to speak. And so that's all I have for today on 3 ways on how to become consistent. I hope those were helpful tips. I hope they were simple, and I just encourage you, take the time. You are worth investing in. You got to start investing in yourself. And so just take the time to sit down, think a few things through, start small, and just get in there and shake it up. And before you know it, you'll be consistent in many areas that you hadn't been consistent in. And it'll just make you a better person overall. And it will encourage you to take that into other areas as well, and just continue to better yourself and grow as you go along. So that's all I have for today. I hope these were helpful tips, and I hope you actually do take these things to heart and start adding them to your daily routine, and just be happy with your growth as you go along. So that's all I have for today. So I am husband, father, man, and I will see you on our next episode. So you take care. Have a blessed day. Bye.
And could you pick the kids up on soccer? Grab some cake mix, and I only use Betty Crocker. Also grab some milk and some eggs, some sugar and some bread, and it's one more stop before you head